Hi, I'm Victoria Rada. We are discussing the difference between 100% VA disability rating and a TDIU rating. We will also go over many common questions concerning TDIU specifically that aren't often addressed.
My name is Greg. I'm a disabled Air Force veteran, and I run a law firm called After Service LLC, where we represent my fellow veterans against the VA regarding their VA disability benefits.
All right, I want to get started with just a general explanation of the difference between the two ratings.
Yeah, so a schedular 100% combined rating means that all of your disabilities that are rated by the VA combine up to 100%. And a TDIU stands for a total disability rating based on individual unemployability. And that's used where a veteran's individual ratings do not combine to 100. So you have a combined rating of, something less than 100, let's say 70. But what TDIU does, it allows VA to pay you at the full 100% payment rate. And it's in recognition that you're unable to work due to your service-connected disabilities.
And just to clarify with TDIU, you are allowed to work.
So as long as you don't engage in what they call substantially gainful employment, you can work. And substantially gainful employment is defined as earning above the federal poverty threshold for a single person, which currently is about $15,000 a year. So if you keep your earnings below that amount, you can have TDIU and you can work. It's important to note that the definition of substantially gainful employment is how much you earn. Doesn't matter if it's part-time, full-time, 1 hour a week, 100 hours a week, all VA looks at is what you earn.
And when you say it's based on the federal poverty guidelines, it's always for a single person, correct?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. A vet will say, well, I'm married, I have 3 children, and the poverty threshold for a family of 5 is more, but that doesn't matter. The threshold for everyone, regardless of your family size, is a single person.
So let's get into the less commonly addressed questions that people have. One question, and you just sort of touched on it, was earned income. A lot of people want to know if lottery winnings are considered when TDIU is their rating.
No, they would not be. Earned income is money that you earn from actively working a job. Unless you're a professional gambler, VA could say that that's your job and you're earning it. But, winning the lottery is not earned income.
So you win the lottery and you win $12 million, you're okay.
You can keep receiving TDIU.
Okay. Another question that a lot of people ask, the answer isn't out there, is a lot of states offer benefits to veterans who are 100% disabled. And, these benefits vary state by state, but people want to know if your rating is significant and whether or not you're eligible.
Yeah, so every state is different. And so you're going to have to look at whatever your state is to see exactly what it is. Here in Colorado, the state does look at TDIU and a Schedule 100% differently. Veterans in Colorado are only eligible, for example, for the property tax break if they have that Scheduler 100% rating. They would not be eligible if they have TDIU. In my opinion, is BS, because some people have 100% scheduler ratings and they're completely fine. They can work. They just have a bunch of minor disabilities that combine up to 100, whereas someone who has TDIU literally can't work because of their disabilities. And in my opinion, that person's more deserving of a tax break. And so again, this varies state by state. I know California, Texas, Florida, they don't treat them differently. If you have a TDIU, you're good to go. You'll get a tax break in those states, but you got to look in the regulation and see exactly what the language says for your individual state.
Okay, so it's the same thing as the benefits. The benefits vary state by state, and so does whether or not they consider TDIU and 100% scheduler the same.
Yeah, whether a state offers a tax break on something varies. Some states do, some states don't. They have different levels of tax break.
Now let's discuss the computation or the calculation that VA uses in order to come up with the 100%, because there's also a lot of confusion about folks wondering why, if you were to just do simple addition and add up their disabilities, they are 130% disabled, but they are only 70% in the eyes of the VA. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so VA does not use simple addition to calculate your combined rating. They use a combination calculation And it's somewhat confusing. I'm trying to give an easy example. Let's say you have a 70% rating and a 10% rating. That's not going to combine to 80%. It's actually going to combine to 73%. And the way you do the math is you take your highest rated disability, that's 70%. And so VA looks at it as if you have 70% of your body is disabled. You have a remaining 30% of your body that's not disabled. You take the next lowest rating, that 10%, and you apply that to the 30% of your healthy body. And so 10% of 30% is 3%. So that's how you get that 73% exact rating. And VA rounds. So if you get to the highest 5, it rounds up. If you're below the 5, it rounds down. So 73% is going to round down to 70. You'd have to get an exact combined rating of 75% for it to then round up to 80. You can go to VA's website here, and they have a combined disability rating calculator. And you can see here on this left column, you'll put the rating, and then you can put a description so you don't forget what you're doing. You can add as many ratings as you want, and then you press the calculate button. Well, this didn't do it for me. Let's say add neck and 50% for PTSD. You can calculate it, and it's going to show your exact rating right here, 71%. That rounds down to 70. This calculator is limited. You may notice it's not doing bilateral factor calculations, which are extra percentage points when you have disabilities affecting both extremities, either both your arms or both your legs. But this can get you in the ballpark here. And if you really want to nerd out, you can scroll down and you can look at their manual combination calculators, and then they go through a step-by-step process here of how to actually do it. But my suggestion is to use the calculator.
Okay, last question for TDIU. Is there a certain percent disabled you have to be in order to qualify for a potential TDIU rating? In your example earlier, you said, let's say you're 70%. Do you have to be 70% or 50%?
No. So this is one of the biggest TDIU myths, and VA continually pretends that you have to meet certain rating requirements to even be eligible for TDIU. I'm going to share my screen here from VA's webpage, and under the eligibility section here, this is what VA likes to pretend you have to have. At least one disability rated at 60, or you have 2 or more disabilities with at least one of those at 40 and a combined rating of 70% or more. And so I constantly, have people call me and being like, well, I can't apply for TDIU because I don't have these ratings. And that's just not true. The next part of the regulation, which VA alludes to, but doesn't really tell you, it says in certain cases, for example, if you need to be in the hospital often, you may qualify at a lower disability rating. And so they make it seem like, okay, yeah, sometimes you can get it, but it has to be really extreme, like you're in the hospital.
Right.
And that's a load of bull. We've won TDIU for veterans who have had a single 10% rating for a knee. And so the bottom line is, if your disability makes you unable to work, you should be applying for TDIU. It's winnable. It doesn't matter what the ratings are. And don't let VA fool you otherwise. Is
there a limit to how long you can receive TDIU?
No, once you have it, as long as you don't start working again, you should keep receiving it for the rest of your life unless you return to work. VA is not going to stop it because of your age. There's no cutoff, and vice versa. There's no time limit on when you can apply for it. So if you're an 80-year-old veteran and you retired 20 years ago, but it's the case that now you wouldn't be able to work because of your disabilities, you can absolutely apply for TDIU. It doesn't matter how old you are. Another question we get a lot is people think that once they're on TDIU, they're not allowed to ever work again in their life.
Right.
And that's not true. Whether the decision to work is always up to you. Veteran always decides. If you're on TDIU and things have improved and you can return to work, you absolutely can do so. And the regulation has a built-out tryout period. VA is not allowed to stop your TDIU until you've maintained substantially gainful employment for 12 consecutive months. And so this allows you to test the waters. You think you can work, you can get a job, you can try it out. And, after 6 months, you realize that, no, you actually can't work. You just stop working. And, throughout that entire 6 months, you're still receiving TDIU.
And then with the regular Scheduler 100, just to clarify, you can work as much as you want, earn as much as you want. It has no bearing on your compensation.
Yeah. If you have a combined 100% rating, there's no restrictions on your ability to work.
Well, those are the most commonly asked questions and misconceptions about the differences between the two. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you found this helpful.